Hey gang, Mark Stedman here. I wanted to take a few minutes and go over the calling list activity generator. Seems like it's a little bit complex and it might be helpful to have something that you can review a couple of times to make sure that you're taking full advantage of it. So the activity generator allows you to set up a bunch of phone calls that you'll make for recruiting or possibly to send out an email. This little tutorial is going to focus on generating phone calls. So navigate to your tour and then select the event that you want to work on. In this case, I am going to look at Baldwin, New York, and open that event up. Then up here, I've got a button. I know that I have estimated recruiting list right now of 160, so I'm going to go to my activity generation button here at the top of the screen. Now, first thing I'm going to do is select what kind of activities I'm going to generate. In this case, I want to generate a bunch of phone call records so that I can start working through those and looking for folks who will help out in the banquet. So I've got a couple options here. I can search and just verify the total calling list. So let's start with that. Run search, give it a minute here or a little bit less as it kind of filters through and orders that list and tells you how many people would be included. So there's 134 people that could potentially be set up for a phone call. If this is my first pass on calling for this particular event, that's probably more people than I want to start with. That's probably too many. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to focus on the people who've been team members in the past. Now, the way to do that is there's a plus button right here. This allows you to begin adding additional filter criteria to who would be included in the activities that you generate. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to select banquet team. Then we're going to come over here and we're going to select team members. Then I can choose how many tours to look back. So in this case, let's look back 3 tours and we're going to search again. Now remember, we had about 130 or so when we searched without any additional filtering criteria. But what we're looking for now is just people who have previously attended this banquet. In this case, we found 14. Now that number's low, and that's because we're still pumping data into the system. That number is going to come up over the weekend, but I wanted to get this tutorial out to you sooner. Now, I think I actually just made a mistake here because I said we were going to look for team members and not attendees. So let me switch this to team member. We'll stick with a 3-tour look back, and we will search this again. Okay, so now I found 14 people again who are potentially going to be able to serve as team members. So if I'm satisfied with that number, what I can do is choose the due date that I want for all the activities. They'll all be the same. Let's say I'm going to make those calls by next Wednesday, and I would click on create, and I would create all those telephone calls. I'm not going to do that because what I would be doing is creating a lot of telephone calls for null. So I would hit create. But let's look at some other ways that we can use this. We can also use this contacted already to remove people that we've already contacted. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to hit the plus sign here and I'm going to add another row of criteria. So now I'm going to say contacted already and I'm going to choose not. So what I'm looking for is banquet team attendee in the last 3 tours, not contacted already. And I'm going to run search. Now, the way that that contacted already comes into play is if you've been making phone calls and you've closed them, then those donors will have already been, they'll be marked as having been contacted. So in this case, I have none that meet the requirement of not having been already contacted out of the attendee list. So I've already, Noel or his assistant or somebody has already called all those folks and logged a call to them. So in this case, no one is showing up. So maybe what I would do now is I would broaden this out a little bit. Perhaps I would just go ahead and remove this criteria of having been an attendee and just get the people who have not been contacted already in that area. Let's try that. So now if I run this with not contacted already, I see I have 22 people left who haven't been called. And in this case, I verified the calling list, and Noel's been very busily recruiting for this event. And so he's already he's contacted about 100 people for this event. And just a data point here for you. The reason that there's more than 100 people filtered out is because it also filters out people who don't have a phone number, because you can't make a phone call to somebody without a phone number. And if they have also requested not to be contacted, they're filtered out as well. So there's about 22 people left here that are within the zip and radius that could be contacted. So I hope this is helpful. Experiment around. You can't break anything here as long as you're just using the search button. It's until you hit the green create button that you actually are taking action. So poke around and try that. And of course, don't hesitate to contact me or Holly with further questions. We'd be happy